these things evolve, what typically happens is these viruses spread because they have mutations in them that make them more transmissible, often because they bind to human cells more effectively, sometimes because they replicate more quickly. And they spread because they're not as severe as the previous versions. Because let's say you get a variant that creates very, very severe disease, that might kill someone before they get spread to a lot of people. So we select out for viruses that spread widely, make a lot of people sick, but don't necessarily give them severe disease or death. And so that's just the natural progression of how these viruses work, moving toward hopefully what's an endemic phase where, like, we have influenza that comes in a seasonal manner every year. We don't know what's going to happen with this particular virus, but hopefully we get to a point where it may be widely circulating at particular times of the year or even year round. But the versions that are there are less severe, and the population in general has had immunity develop because of previous infection and vaccination, or both. I wish I had a better answer for when this would become endemic. I think as we see things like XBB come through, and we see that significant amounts of infections, but more and more people that have kind of common cold-like symptoms, again, those individuals who've had COVID, who've been vaccinated and up to date on their vaccines, or both, if they were to get this, it's like, oh, I have a cold. I think the more of that we see and the evolution of those viruses toward more of a common cold symptom-like virus, the better. And I think we're moving that way. Of course, as we've said from the beginning, the danger is always could a mutation develop in a variant somewhere around the world that would spread through, that our current degrees of kind of herd immunity in our communities would not be protective. I think that could happen, but I anticipate we'll get more of these waves over time. The viruses become very contagious but milder, and will continue to build up kind of group immunity. And then at some place in there, it'll either be around all the time or it becomes seasonal. Things like rhinovirus, one of the viruses that causes the common cold, is around year round. It peaks up and goes down, but it's literally around all year. There are other viruses we see that are more seasonal, things like para-influenza. It's a virus of the summer. RSV, typically a wintertime virus, although that's been different in the last few years. So these viruses kind of settle out in either a year-round way or a seasonal way, and it remains to be seen where this one's going to lay out. The way it's acted has been more like rhinovirus, means it's around all the time. And so maybe we'll have several years where COVID is around and people get it, but it's more like a common cold. At least that's what we're hoping for.